Hi, fourth graders. This is going to be our last online lesson because this coming Thursday is going to be your fourth grade graduation. And it's going to be a drive through where you will stay in your cars and teachers will hand out your graduation certificates. So there will be more information coming out about that this week if you haven't heard anything about it yet. So don't worry, we'll let you know. Um, so I'm sorry we couldn't be together anymore since March. This has been a crazy year. So I hope you guys are keeping a journal or a diary or something and writing down what you did during this time because this is something to tell your kids and your grandkids about how strange life was during COVID-19 back in 2020. So we're going to go ahead and get started. In your packet, you had this article, The Sun, Yellow Dwarf Star at the Heart of the Solar System. And I'm just going to let you go ahead and read that on your own and work through the work after you read it, the stop and jots on your own, because we want to focus more on the myth part that's at the bottom of this article. Okay, so in your article, it mentions the photosphere, and I want to take a minute to talk about the word photosphere. So we will move on. All right, so these are the layers of the sun, and I don't know if you're able to see in your picture very well, but here is the photosphere. And do you remember from reading the article what the photosphere is? Think about it for a second. If not, we're going to go back to it. But I also thought this was very interesting. You've got the chromosphere, and then you've got the corona. And this is a different corona. It's not the virus. It is part of the layer. It's one of the layers of the sun. So, I want to take a look at the word photosphere. When you look at this word, what other words do you see in this word? Do you see other words that you know? And I hope that you do. I hope you see that there's the word photo, and then there's the word sphere. So, photo is Latin, a different language, and it actually means light. Then sphere is a round shape. So it translates to mean sphere of light. So the photosphere, let's see if I can go back. The photosphere is the layer of the sun that we can see from Earth. So when we are looking up at the sun, and when you see that bright spot that blinds you, that's the photosphere. And then you also have the chromosphere. So, and the corona, which you can't see from the Earth unless there is a solar eclipse. And that is in your article, and I do want to go back to that here. So it says the chromosphere and corona cover the photosphere. So they're over the chromosphere. Sorry, they cover the photosphere. And they are thinner than the photosphere, so their light is weaker. You can't usually see them from Earth, but both can be seen when the moon covers the photosphere, and this is called a solar eclipse. So you are able to see the chromosphere and the corona when the moon covers the photosphere, the one we can see from Earth. And in this picture, the chromosphere looks like a red ring around the sun. The corona is white. It looks like a beautiful ring of flowers. So those are three of the layers of the sun, but I want to keep talking about the photosphere and words related to that. Okay, so we've got photosphere, which means sphere of light, and it's got the prefix photo, and it's got the ending sphere. So can you think of other words that start with the word photo. And remember that the word photo means light. So anytime a word has the prefix photo, it's going to have something to do with light in its definition and its meaning. All right, I'm going to show you some pictures. What are these? You've got 3 different kinds here. You've got Polaroids, you've got old school Abraham Lincoln, and then you've got someone who went to Africa on a safari vacation. And they took, we would say, pictures or photographs. So see, you've got the prefix here, photo. And in order to take a picture, in order to take a photo, you need light. You have a camera, and the camera uses the light to take the picture. Have you ever tried to take a picture when it's dark? And if your camera isn't fancy and has the right kind of settings and filters, then your picture is not going to turn out. So photograph is another one of those words that starts with photo. So I bet you know probably 2 other words that start with photo that go along with photograph. So let's move on to the next one. Who's this? What would we say this woman's job is? We would call her a photographer. So you've got photo, and you've even got graph, and makes it a person. So we've got a photographer. What about this one? So we've already done photograph. So these are not, they are photographs, but there's more to it than that. And then we've done photographer, which is the person. So what is this called? Like what we have here, like maybe the art piece of it. Starts with photo. And it's photography. So people who take pictures for their job, who are photographers, are doing photography. So these are 3 other words that start with photo, and it all involves needing light to take the picture or to do the job. So there's one other word that maybe you have learned in science that starts with photo. So you see the sun going to the plant. The plant is taking in carbon dioxide and it's giving out oxygen and it's absorbing water through the roots. So do you know what that's called when a plant is doing that? It is called photosynthesis. So it needs the light from the sun in order to make the food for the plant. Okay, so I want to go back to this last paragraph in your packet. Oops. All right. So it says, the sun has inspired mythological stories in cultures around the world, including those of the ancient Egyptians, the Aztecs of Mexico, Native American tribes of North and South America, the Chinese, and many others. Comic books say Superman or others from the planet Krypton have powers from the yellow glow of our sun. And they can even dispose of dangerous materials, as Superboy once did, by hurling them into the sun. So the sun has played a big role in myths and stories and literature and comics and things like that. And so we're going to talk about myths this week. And on Wednesday, Miss Morrow is going to share with you a myth from a different culture. So we'll go back. Oh, one other thing, actually. I'm going to put this link into the YouTube description. But if you're really interested in learning more about the layers of the sun, here's something that you can read, and it gives you even more information. And yeah, this one is just extra information for you to look at. I've got something else where you can do some work. But, oh, right. I'm sorry. Quiz. Like if you read through this, you can take a quiz. And see how you do. So I will put this web link into the description for YouTube. All right, so we're going to go back to the definition of myths. All right, so a lot of people, and you probably have heard of these, I know some of you like to read myths, the Greek myths, and those are really commonly known, the Greek myths. And myths are stories about how the world, sorry guys, I have a typo, how the world was created and why certain things happen. Myths tell stories of gods, goddesses, heroes, heroines, and events that a group believes to be real or believed to be real at one time. So for a myth, this group of people, like the Greeks used to believe these stories of the gods and goddesses. As time has passed, they don't believe them to be real anymore. One example is Greek myths were told by ancient Greeks and told about the start of the world and nature, so how the world came into existence and different things in nature. And these were their stories that they told to explain how these things happened. Now, people study Greek myths today to learn more about what the ancient Greeks believed. So, ancient Greeks believed in more than one god, so we call that polytheism. There's a really big word for you. Polytheism is when you believe in more than one god. So they had gods and goddesses like Apollo and Hermes and Zeus. And so they believed that these were the beings that controlled the world in ancient Greece. So one of the Greek myths that relates to the sun is called Helios and Phaeton, the sun chariot. And so here is a picture of a chariot here. It's the little cart that's pulled by horses. Here's another one, the front of it. And these are pieces of art from this myth. All right, so I jumped a little bit ahead of myself, and I'm going to go back to the myth, and we are going to read the myth. But I am a little afraid I might run out of time, so I'm going to stop it here, and when I start the next video, then I'll start reading about Helios and Phaeton.